What's up everyone, welcome back to a new video on the Alien Agro channel. Today we will be going over the markets per usual, so with that having said, let's get straight into it. Right here we will be starting at the general markets, meaning the index funds. So the thing we were looking at with the S&P is we were watching this candle, which I found quite interesting before it even closed, where I stated it would be kind of logical to get a little bit above it, get below, and then continue up, because we know people will be buying this candle and will be using it as a setup like this, where they hit that stop below those wicks and they get liquidated or stopped out, whatever. And you see how this pretty much, we had a deviation at the upside, we had a deviation on the downside, and then we went up, right? So this is a beautiful setup that played out for S&P in general. When we just zoom out, it looks quite well. The only thing we do want to be seeing is some sort of logical backtest and see some buying pressure when it gets into this level. So for now, the S&P looks quite well, and I still think we're on track to get a lot higher. Just want to look at this from a numerical perspective. We know that this was that all-time high at a 6152, and we already rose 50 points above, so that is quite decent if you ask me. And here we had one minimal backtest with some explosion, but I want to see a bit of compression inside of this before we really rally further up. So the Nasdaq, yeah, we pointed out this gap that it made on the open. It's pretty much precisely filled that gap with a wick below, and then we started going up again. This is also still looking quite well, still already in all-time high. For the Dow Jones, this has been picking up a little bit of gas, as you can see. When you compare it to these other ones, these have been going up for quite a while the Dow Jones was just going sideways, but now it is looking like it will be following both of them. So the DXY still going down, which I like, because when the dollar gets weaker, this is good for alternative investments like Bitcoin or stocks in general. So now let's get into Bitcoin, where we went into this daily naked POC, which we still had sitting here, and I pointed out this part, this little consolidation, where we can have a couple different scenarios from. Because what do we know? Right here, I stated this was that deviation back inside here. Then I said, this is that 0.5 level of your range. So there is a big chance of us retracing back up. If we don't see buying pressure at that 0.5 level, you will most likely go straight down to those lows again. But what do we get? We really saw some buying pressure at that 0.5 level of this range, which right here. And if we go into a longer time frame even, it is a proper free drive. Right there, where you have wedging lows. So you make those lows lower, but you still have big wicks, right? Like this. This is looking quite decent, so I had to open a little long right here, and I exited right around here. I was a little bit too late on that exit. Could have done a perfect exit, but I just did not. I was not at the desk, so that was my mistake. But what do we get right now? Because the thing I stated on Twitter is, right around here, I posted now volatility can die down again and get back at that New York open and that London open. So let's go into a 3-minute chart to see where was that London open. Because this is a thing that most people really should know. There are just two logical timings where the market usually gets its volume from, right? So you have to think of the London open. For me, it is at 8 in the morning, and you see we made that pivot where we just started grinding down slowly. You see here, we rejected from this high, we started making a lower high, we started making lower lows, and we started rolling over. But this was not really that explosive, right? Later you get this pullback to the upside, and here you have that London open. And this is where that reversal on those lower time frames has been made again, where first we're climbing up a little bit, you're really making a lower high, which you can of course play with finding that low that has been made in between. If that breaks, you usually will go down, right? For the opposite side, of course, if it really started going up here, it should have broken this high. So it really broke this. And when did this really happen? This exact wick, this exact candle, I mean, has been made on that London Open. So you see how that London Open appeared, and price just started getting explosive to the downside. So this was a really great short opportunity if you were awake at that time. But what do we have right now? Because I stated two different timings, where you have that London Open. So for me, that's at 8 a.m. in the morning. And that second one is that New York Open, right around here. And you already see what you get. Now, understand this logic. This is, most people won't be telling you this shit, but you see how we go up into that London Open. We start rejecting and we get that explosion towards the downside, right? This can happen in both sides. So it can also be like this, where we have a tiny pullback towards the downside and then that massive expansion towards the upside. Right here, we just got the bearish variant. But both can happen. But the concept I want you guys to know is, you see here that ramp up towards that New York Open. And this is the exact candle of that New York Open. And you and you get a quick move towards the downside, where you later get an even more explosive move towards the downside. But this is a thing you guys should be studying, where the start before that open session, you usually go to one side to reverse it to the other side. So it can also be that before the session starts, you start moving downwards, and then you get a reversion back to the upside. Right? This can happen both ways, but I just want you guys to study these times, because you already see right here is where you get that pivot to make that reversal. Right? At that London Open, you make that pivot to make that reversal. Right? So these timings really are quite important. The last one is the daily close, but I won't be pointing out this one, right? So, what did I say? This was that crucial consolidation where we should be breaking out and finding acceptance above from. And if you want to try to front run it, this should be your trigger point. But what can we see right now? We see here that we have been getting back into it, and then we broke above this little high where we shot back up. Now we are getting it in the opposite side. You see it's getting back into this level with immense selling pressure. You see these major wicks being made, which also is on that New York Open, right? And you get one big 1 hour candle straight down. So what can we be looking at right now? It's quite logical. I'm still watching this midpoint, which should be, we'll just get it perfectly right now. How can we find this easily? I draw a box on that consolidation. It gives me my midpoint right around here. So this is what we want to be reclaiming, where this, I want it to be a little precise. So let's see if this is correct. No, it should be a bit higher, right there. So this is that point that we want to see reclaimed. I won't make this purple, but with just a singular line, where this is that level that we want to see getting reclaimed to look back at upside. If we don't reclaim this, and let's say we do some price action like this, I will be looking at a little bit more sales to play it further down to the downside. But for now, I was playing this little short right here, which I already exited. Because you guys should know by now, I'm a scalper. My job is not to really guess or play this entire move. No, my guess is to play this move. And from here, play this move. From here, play this move. If given. But there comes the thing. If I exit it here, and it starts reversing a little, now I have the opportunity to play towards the upside. This is the way how I prefer to play charts, instead of using those day trade type managing, where you enter, let's say, right around here, and you are running it all this way for a couple of days and then exit at this high. I'd rather play it this and get back in. right? So I played this little part, maybe 1 to 2 hours, sometimes even shorter. Play this, play this, play this, and then here it just got more explosive, right? But this is the way how I prefer to play these types of environments. Unless you're like in a very strong uptrend, like right here, this is where I decide sometimes to hold my trades for longer because I know we're in a trending environment where bigger moves can occur. Like right here, we also had it to the downside. We were quite clearly trending, and those moves towards the downsides are quite large. So it's wiser just to stay in those trades and manage them properly with using your stop loss, either trailing it or just managing it live. So with that having explained, you see we're really not getting any buying pressure at that 0.5 level, so it looks quite logical to go towards these lows, which I stated earlier in a previous video where we should be getting a scenario like this, where we deviate from these lows and we maybe even tap into that previous Monday open, previous Monday high, I mean, where we then reverse from. So this is an area I will be watching. Well, let's make it a little bit more precise. This area right here is where I will be watching for longs, where I want to see a sweep with a logical reclaim that should be quite explosive. Because again, let's say we get some shit like this. This really is more of a pattern that will most likely continue further down instead of reversing like this. So that will be it for Bitcoin. If we really break up, which I think we will just be a bit more ranging and perhaps move up around Wednesday or Thursday. I think Wednesday will be more logical than Thursday. So until then, we're just playing this little range in between, where we have this as the highs, which you had 2 anomalies above, and this as those lows. I'll remove this box to make it a bit more clear. And if we really break up, this would be that logical level to move towards, but I am more looking at downside for now before we can look at major longs again. So now let's get into ETH. ETH pretty much started rejecting around that key level, which of course was that previous range low, which we still are sitting at. It's that 0 to 5 level, and this is your perfection range low. Where if we go into that 4-hour, you see we had a perfect rejection right here again, making equal highs. But I do have to say that on this move down, I will quickly do it like this. You just look at these two. Which one is stronger? Like I stated, I'm more bullish on ETH overall, but the last few weeks I was more bearish on ETH than BTC because it just was not showing any strength and BTC was just fully violating ETH. But right now, we are quite getting the opposite, where you see BTC already started rejecting and making lower lows, while ETH is just holding. So I do think this is about that time where ETH and alts will get a bit stronger than BTC again. So when we find a local bottom on BTC and ETH, I think it's wise to long some alts again instead of just only playing Bitcoin, where this just looks to be the weaker pair right now. You just look at it like this. I'll scroll through it a couple times to show you guys that relative strength. So this looks quite logical that if we start to find a logical bottom, that ETH will be that harder bouncer in compared to Bitcoin. So we will be watching ETH a bit more precise than BTC. So yeah, just look at this. It's really showing strength right here. You just know that it's currently holding this low while BTC is already like, what is it, like 1.5% below that low. So that's looking quite strong. But for ETH, let's just go back into that 1-hour chart. We are currently sitting right around this high. If we really hold support here, that could be quite well, but it just looks a little too good to be true. And I think a logical scenario actually would be to take out this wick. where we go down a little bit. Oh, it's already doing it. And then we start reversing. So I think this could be quite logical. But what do we need to get? We need to get below, like we are doing right now, hold above, and then get up. Right? So as I pointed this out on the 1 hour, where do we really want to see it hold reclaim? Like on a 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes. Because 1 hour can just be a sweep straight up, right? Like shown right here. This is a perfect example, which is why you use those lower time frames to see if that level actually is holding yes or no. So if we don't see a logical reclaim on a lower time frame, don't take this trade. But if we do, and we really manage to hold like for 2 to 3, 5 candles, 3 to 5 candles is more precise, which it currently seems to be doing, so I will be uploading this a little bit quicker, where this would be a logical scenario in my opinion, if ETH really continues to be at a stronger pair, which it currently does seem to be doing. For BTC, I would like perhaps this wick to be taken out. It looks also quite logical, so this would be, yeah, maybe here we can try to front run these range lows, but I do think we really trade into these range lows looking from it. But for ETH, it just looks a bit better, but if we really don't hold here, I would be looking right around here. So these are those 2 points to look at for ETH. Let's go onto that BTC volume chart, where we map out the level based on high volume nodes and not low volume nodes because you slice through them like butter. I've explained this concept multiple times. If you want a deeper explanation, go back into one of my earlier daily market outlooks where I show this chart and fully explain how these low volume levels work in terms of those high volume levels. So what can we be looking at right here? We see we are at a high volume level from this point till this point. So we really can hold here in my opinion, but if we don't, we should just logically go down a bit further into that 105, 106, right around here, this area. So we would like price to hold right around here. And if it doesn't, we will most likely be going down further. For ETH at volume charts, yeah, we had a couple scenarios where I said we are trading at the POC. We don't really want to see acceptance below it, so we want to see acceptance above it. We had one candle right close below it with a massive wick at the upside, signaling a bunch of buying pressure. And we just started going up a bit more explosive than I thought myself. I really thought we would be trading into this level right here, but instead we traded all the way into this level. So yeah, my trade just got a bit longer than expected. Who am I to complain with more profits and a more explosive move when you're inside that move? So this I signal as buying pressure, right? Well, you should guess what this then is. This is clear selling pressure, where you have a move towards the upside, and this is selling spot and profit taking, right? You see such a massive wick, here you see the same fucking thing. So this can also be buyers who have longed and they have to force themselves out of those positions. So this is a big thing people should be looking at. Study those big wicks. Here again, a massive wick which was that low. Here a massive wick which was that high. Here again, yeah, it just keeps repeating. So study those massive wicks because those are usually good buying or selling opportunities depending on the site they occur on. So let's get into the last thing. I won't be looking at alt right now because I don't think it's really great unless some show momentum. But the EVTC chart, we want to see it getting back above that 0 to 5 level, which it currently has not been able to do. But like I stated, it is still looking quite strong because this is just a clear compression. You take this point to this point right here. You see how we are just compressing in between this current channel. So this is something to look out for. This can get explosive when it breaks. If it breaks towards the upside or the downside, only God knows. I won't be able to tell you unless it starts breaking the trend line at the upside or it starts breaking the trend line at the downside, right? So these are the two levels to be watching for EVTC. For BTCD, I stated we don't want to get above this. We want to find acceptance back below this level. When we look at this on the daily, this was your previous high. And like I stated, this is sort of a range, which if we really manage to get back below this, we are just getting a deviation from the range where we will most likely have a kind of crazy move on alts for about a week or at least a couple days if we really find acceptance below this. But as you can see right now, we are still holding above this. So this is really not the thing we want to be seeing. We really want to be seeing something like this, where we just start rolling over and then just start bleeding towards the downside on BTCD. As long as it's right around here, I'm not really that bullish on alts. The moment it starts getting below this, I will be more bullish on alts again. And then I will look at the regular alts in the daily market outlooks again. But for now, they're just showing a bit of weakness. So with that having said, guys, yeah, we got a lot lower. So wait for this reclaim and then it could be still a possible trade. Like I stated, this was on a 1 hour, but we want to see it getting reclaimed on those lower time frames, right? So now let's say instead of a reclaim, we get some shit like this. Now it will most likely be a better idea to short it. But if we start trading into this and we do some shit like this, now I will be leaning more towards upside again, right? So this is a crucial point to watch if you're trading lower time frames. And if we just not even come close to this, then we will just simply be looking at that next liquidity level, right? So with that having said, guys, I hope you liked the video. I made it a bit longer than expected with all this happening, and like usual, I need to put a little bit of dedication in all these videos. So with that having said, guys, keep trading. Have a nice day. Goodbye.